Greetings, Alafia, Sawabona, welcome. My name is Renee Ifagbaye Ishubola Ayalagbeg Kimberly Smith. I am the daughter of Maureen and Dr. Richard Smith and Stephen Tyson. I am the granddaughter of Violet and Jacob Chevalier, of Brodell Anderson and Cecil Smith. I am the great-granddaughter of Lucille Benoit and Eddie Benoit. I come to you today and introduce myself in this way because I never stand alone. Those who've come before me, those who are ancient, those who give me the messages and give me the ideas that need to come forth, stand with me at all times. And I also introduce myself that way because when this journey is over, it'll be the pathway for those who come after. So I thank you for joining us and welcome to Be the Medicine, Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Intelligence. Welcome to Be the Medicine, Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Intelligence. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the power of letting go. What does it mean to let go? What does it mean to grieve and to detach so that we can fully function in the present and continue to heal generations? So I always start this conversation around letting go by talking about the understanding of what it means to trust, what it means to be in relation with others, right? We, as communal people, as a part of an ecosystem, we are in relation to each other, in relation to ourselves, in relation to the earth. And so those relations or relationships from time to time can be breached. They can be breached for many reasons. They can be breached because at the time that we were brought together, that was just the time that we were supposed to spend together. It can be breached because someone has left their earthly body and have transitioned into the next realm. They can be breached because we've lost trust in someone or in something. And so because we've lost trust, we are no longer functioning in the best relation that we can with this person. But in thinking about the way we relate to each other and how we relate to ourselves, we also must recognize that in order for us to evolve, we actually must let go. What are flower essences? Flower essences are medicine for the soul. They are the highest vibrational energy that exists from a plant. Interested in learning more about flower essences? Book an appointment at www.akikafloweressence.com. The earth is our first example, right? We go through seasons. Even if you are living in a climate that is the same 365 days of the year, they still have seasons, right? Here in the north in New York, we have 4 seasons. Well, in New York, we may have 5 or 6 because, our weather is a little bipolar. But, we have fall, we have spring, we have summer, we have winter. In between, we have, I think, an Indian summer too sometimes, but I digress. In the Caribbean, you have rainy season and you have dry season, right? So there are seasons, and with those seasons come the opportunity for the earth to refresh, the opportunity for the earth to go through a process that allows for it to cultivate, for it to incubate, for it to harvest. Those things don't all happen at the same time, because if they did, then they wouldn't happen in the cycle, right? So you can't pick the fruit the same time you plant the seed. You have to allow the seed to germinate, allow the seed to now sprout. And after the sprouting comes the creation of the tree. And after the tree comes the creation of the flower. After the flower comes the creation of the fruit. Because when you see a plant flower, many people who are very connected to plant intelligence will tell you that that is when the plant begins to die. Because the flowers are the highest expressions of a plant, once a plant or a tree begins to flower, it is now going into its dying season. Part of that process of letting go is the bearing of the fruit. Part of the process of letting go is the bearing of all of its leaves falling off. Part of the process of it letting go is allowing for it to find its space in rest. In the north, our rest season tends to be during winter when it is cold, when the earth begins to actually hibernate. So, through this hibernation process, we are now in a cycle of rest. In that rest, we find our rejuvenation. In that rest, we start to cultivate new opportunities and new ideas. In that rest, our bodies are able to take a moment to say, oh, we've done all this work. Let us take a moment to allow it to begin to find the frequency that we need in order for it to actually move forward. So, these are very important pieces for us to think about when we think about power of letting go. That we have examples of what that is around us every single day. If we open our eyes and we pay attention, the cosmos is always telling us and sharing with us these pieces of wisdom. So you would say, okay, well, how does that then relate to when I've lost a person, right? And so for me personally, I have experienced grief in lots of different ways. Grieving a person, grieving a relationship, grieving a job, grieving myself. All of those things occur in our lives. But the power that we have in letting go and allowing the cosmos, allowing the universe to support us in our own evolutions is very powerful. We as human beings have this thought process that we are the most intelligent in the ecosystem. I don't know where that came from, but it actually is not true. What we have as sentient beings is the power of choice. And so many times we have to choose whether or not we're going to evolve or if we're going to stay in the place that we are. See, the other plants, the other participants in our ecosystem, they're intelligent enough to know that giving them choice isn't going to be it. You either are or you're not. We as humans have the ability to choose. And many times, to be quite honest, we do not choose to evolve. And part of the evolution process is for us to let go. So let's talk a little bit about grief first. So when we talk about grief, and we talk about grief in the sense of losing someone, right? In the sense that they are no longer inhabitant in their earthly body, and that we will miss being able to see their face and express and have experiences and moments in time that we build as memories that we will then call on. It's a serious, serious place to be, right? No matter what the relation is, you will have these moments where you will just be overcome with this loss. Well, one of the things that I've learned in my experience of being with someone when they take their last breath, and what an honor it is to be able to do that work, to be able to cultivate their ascension, is that in that moment of the last breath, in the moment of being present for that last breath, you get to realize how powerful the spirit is. And that there are moments in time where the work that we have to do is beyond what our earthly body can actually inhabit. That we actually need to be able to ascend to this other place that allows us to actually be able to do this work higher and bigger than whatever we actually could have imagined in our earthly body. And so I share this because I think of many people and many elders who I've had the opportunity to sit at their feet and then be a part of their ascension process. And I think about how they've influenced my life, but how they still influence my life, even with them not being here with their earthly inhabitant. I think about my dear sister, Ifadayo Olaberenjo Ifeya. As she transitioned, we realized that her body couldn't do what she wanted it to do, but her mind was so sharp. that she was able to give us instructions on a dance piece that she had envisioned and tell our bodies and use our bodies to be able to continue to create this work. And that as she has transitioned, she still is organizing all of us in ways that allows for this legacy to continue. Me sitting at Dr. Fukiao's feet and learning about Mbongi and learning with all of my colleagues in the Rites of Passage program at Ife Tayo and being in community and putting it into action and being able to see 20 years later these young people and these families incorporating it into their lives as well. And when I do certain works, that his work will come up or him saying something to me will come up, or he'll visit me in my dream and say, hey, you need to think about X, Y, and Z, that I know that in that moment when I am missing them on this earthly realm, that they are still doing the work. And that because of the way in which we're able to let go, we're able to still experience them in this higher sense. And so it's not to say that grief is a bad thing, because it's not. It's something that we as human beings have to go through. But when grieving someone that has left this earthly realm, we must also understand that their spirit needs our energy in order to ascend. And so that energy requires us to call their name. It requires us to remember their works. It requires us to visit their favorite places. It requires us to cook their favorite foods. It requires us to remember. It requires us to remember. And in the energy of remembrance, we're able to help them ascend. And so that is the other piece of letting go, right? That we understand that in our time of missing, that the other part is that we also have a responsibility as community to push their spirit into the next phase of their existence. That existence is one that allows them to move in a space that isn't inhabitant of the body. And so that is some of the lessons that I've learned in terms of when we talk about grieving a person, grieving a spirit, an entity that was here on earth. I think about grieving myself, and you're like, grieving yourself. And I say, yeah, we grieve ourselves. We grieve ourself in the sense that we evolve. The person that you were even 3 months ago, and think about the person who you are today. Are you the same person? If you've chosen to evolve, I am quite sure you're going to say no. I know that as I have been on this healing journey for myself, and because I'm on this journey for myself, it enables me to help others. That the person I was 5 years ago definitely isn't the person I am now. And that there came a point in time where I had to choose to evolve and I had to actually grieve that person that I had been carrying, that image of who I put myself out in the world to be, to say that that isn't who I am. And I actually had to grieve. I had to grieve the concepts and the notion and the thought processes that I had then created worry around for me to try and achieve and try to be and try to stay up to, when I realized that that actually wasn't what universe was asking me to be, and that it was actually bigger than who and what I even dreamed for myself. And so I had to let go. Join us for our fourth annual Grand Rising Summer Solstice Summit on Friday, June 21st from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is a global celebration of our collective healing, resilience, and awakening. Be the medicine. We are the medicine. This year's summit will explore how we collectively and individually are the medicine for the whole. Get involved. If you're interested in being a sponsor or facilitating a session, please visit our website at www.grandrising2024.com. And letting go is hard. It's like this idea of, I don't know if you've ever seen, there was this one meme at one point where, you get thrown in the water and the baby is thrashing and they're crying and so on and so forth. And then the parent turns to them and says, stand up. And they stand up and realize they're not drowning. They're not going to die. They had the power all that time to stand up and to be part of their own evolution and to learn something new. That is sometimes what letting go can feel like. This idea that we have to control everything that exists in our world means that we don't trust that the universe is really going to provide for us, that we are in sync with all the things that we need and the frequency that we need in order for us to fully experience our lives. What is also really important to acknowledge is that letting go is difficult because we don't know what's on the other side. The thought process that, oh my God, I'm not going to know what's going to happen next is absolutely debilitating. But one of the things that we also need to recognize is that many times we won't let go because we've lost trust in ourselves. Remember, we started this conversation about talking about this idea of relation. We relate or in relationship with not just others, we're in relationship with ourselves. And so, what happens when we lose ourselves? We've lost our ability to be in relation with ourselves. We've lost touch with who we are. That happens many times because we've made decisions or been in situations in which we've disappointed ourselves and we haven't allowed ourselves to say, yo, that was really messed up, but it doesn't define who I am. I've learned the lesson. But what happens many times is we go through these periods of time or opportunities or experiences where we lose trust in ourselves. Instead of just saying that this was a lesson, let's take from the lesson and continue. It doesn't reflect on who I am as a person and who I've come to be or who and what makes up my core value. We then say we can't do it, or we say we don't believe, or we say we don't know. When in actuality, of course we know. We're the only ones who will know ourselves. Again, the choice to evolve means that we have to let go of the ideas, of the concepts, of the pedestals, of the thought processes, of the timing that we think our lives are supposed to have in order for us to get in and feel the frequency of what the universe actually wants us to achieve. The power of letting go. I know it is very, very, very scary. But I can tell you, if you choose to evolve, the universe is going to support you in ways that you could never imagine. We, as human beings, as big and as tall and as strong as we still are the smallest in the universe. And so when it comes time for us to experience a change, any change, we don't like it. And it's okay. But at some point, we have to evolve. And so we have to let go. And so I always give the example of trying to catch water. Have you ever tried to catch water in your hand? What happens? It falls and pushes through, right? Have you ever tried to take the sand from the beach and squeeze it in your hand really, 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 really tight? What happens over time? It pushes through your hand and it goes away. Why? Because anything that we hold on too tightly to, we actually destroy. We remove the opportunity for it to transform, for it to transcend, for it to try to move and shape and be malleable to what we are also experiencing. What we experience in the world, our everyday lives, is also based on frequency, right? If we're squeezing the life out of a frequency that's trying to move us to abundance, but we're stuck in lack, how are we ever going to get on the frequency of abundance if we don't release the thought and the concept of lack? Two things cannot invade the same space at the same time. Something has got to go for something else to come in. So, in order for us to do that work, we have to let go. If you want to experience water, you don't grab it and hold on to it. You open your hands and you're able to then feel and experience it on your skin. Feel and experience it, the weight of it as it gathers in your hand. Feel and experience it as you open your fingers and allow it to drip through and pass through your hands. The power of letting go. We also talk about grieving in the sense of grieving a job or grieving an experience, someplace where we've put our energy for a long, long time. And there comes a time where our spirit says, it's time to go. And so we hold on to that experience or hold on to uncomfortability because we are fearful that if we step out, we will not be able to do the things that we think we're supposed to do. Not understanding that the universe is asking you to evolve. It's asking you to step out because there is something actually bigger and better for you on the other side. And it requires you to trust that when you make this decision, when you are stepping out of quote unquote, instead of staying in the uncomfortability of having the job and having the security, or am I going to step out and find my passion and my purpose and allow abundance to come to me because I am living in my purpose every day? This ability for us to understand that it's time to let go is what will propel us and allow for us to experience evolution. It's what will allow us to call in the frequencies that we need of abundance, of prosperity, of love, of self-love, of being able to recognize the frequency of love, for us to be able to go back in our minds and experience and understand the experiences that we had, the experiences that we are having are connected in the sense that we use them to learn and we use them to evolve. Many may say, well, that sounds really easy. No, it's hard work. It's a commitment to yourself every day to understand who you are, to trust your knowing, to allow for your three brains to constantly check in and check and have a vibe check, right? We say the three brains. So we know that our brain, right, the physical brain, is the place where most logic happens. It's a place where we are able to store memory, where we are able to recognize what happens in the world, right? So over time, we're taking in information through our eyes, through our nose, through our senses, and the brain is logging this information so that when we see the color red, we know the color red. When we see the color blue, we know the color blue. When we see a ball, we know a ball. When we see a child, we know that that's a child or an infant or so on and so forth. So we are able to experience the world because the senses bring that into the brain and the brain holds that information and holds that memory. We call this our logic brain. Then we have our heart. Our heart, interestingly enough, is the biggest brain of all three brains. So our heart is the space where we are feeling and we're understanding based on feelings. And the reason is because the heart has the most electromagnetic sensors than any other place in our body. It is the opportunity that when it's like when you walk into a room or you walk into a space, and you're like, I don't really like this vibe. It's your heart that is experiencing that and saying, this is not for me. Versus you meet somebody for the first time, and the minute you connect with them, you're like, oh, these are my people. Your heart has experienced them. This is the place where emotional intelligence resides, where we in the West have spent so much time being in our logic brain that we have not dropped into our heart. And so our children and many adults are walking around without emotional intelligence. We haven't taught our children how to experience the world through their heart. The third brain is that in our gut. It represents our intuition. It's the knowing of the knowing, right? It's the reason why when the seasons change, many times people will feel the need to clean their gut. Our gut is attached to our intuition. And so when our guts are clean, we are able to feel, we are able to know, we're able to understand, we're able to feel each other. We have heightened senses of intuition that occur when our guts are clean. And so these three brains work together. And so many times, even in my practice, I will, sometimes not only in flower essence, but many times also in Reiki, when I am doing an assessment on someone, you can feel whether or not they are in their logic brain, whether they're in their heart brain, whether they're in their gut brain, and or do these three brains need to start working together? Do we need to drop out of our head so that we can work with our heart? Do we need to drop out of our heart so we can work with our gut? In our gut is our solar plexus. It's the place that stands for who we are. It's a place of trust, right? So when we say that we are experiencing a space where we no longer trust or we no longer trust ourselves or others, it is there in the solar plexus that we have had a break in our relation. So these three brains, they work together. And they work together in us understanding how we navigate in the world, but also understanding how we navigate when we have loss, right? Many times when we lose something, we feel it a lot in our heart, right? That when we experience loss, that people can actually have heart attacks because the heart is breaking. Because our heart is breaking, it then strain on our physical heart, and that could cause the body an issue. And so, in saying that, we want to also think about grief and the body, right? I say often at times that matter matters, right? So, if grief doesn't have some place to go, if we don't have a place where we're going to let it go, it is then going to find space and reside in the matter that we are, which is our bodies, right? If we need to cry, if we need to dance, if we need to drum, if we need to go hug a tree, whatever it is, that energy needs to find and be released in some way. Because if not, it will reside in the body. And then when we aren't paying attention to it, that which is residing in the body that is not healthy will start to destroy itself. Yes, I'm talking about how emotions and grief can also lead to diseases like cancer. So, one of the things that we want to be mindful of is that when we are experiencing letting go, when we are experiencing grief, that we are ensuring that we are finding ways to ensure that it is being released from the body. Because if it stays in the body, it causes dis-ease, which later can cause disease. As we continue to think about how we want to experience the world, we then check back in with our three brains, right? When someone leaves, or when you lose a job, or you're out of a relationship, you feel it first in your heart. But once you've had that release, once you've let go, what happens next? Your brain takes over and starts to say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. All these great things are happening for you. These are your next steps. Once you've had that release, what happens? When your gut starts to tell you and brings you into spaces and places that are for you, that will help to raise your vibration, that will help to reinforce the fact that the decisions that you have made about yourself are the right decisions, right? So those are the first places that we need to understand that our bodies first are the places where the release happens. And once the release happens, our other brain functions take over and help us to find a place where we are thriving. I believe that the concept and the power of letting go is really also about our evolution. I believe that as I've experienced it as for myself, but this is what the ancients talked about when they talked about ascending, when they talked about being on purpose, when they talked about being able to be about your work, when they talked about being able to heal and feel the vibrations of the world. These are the things that we as human beings in these bodies are able to do. But because we aren't evolving, because we aren't allowing ourselves to release the things that we no longer need so that we can gain the knowledge of the new things, we are stuck in our own evolution. We're not evolving. We're not allowing ourselves to find true ascension, to find true joy, to find true love, to find all the trueness that can exist in the world, many times won't exist for us because we are our biggest blocks. So think about where you are right now. Think about what you are working to cultivate in your life. And think about what you need to let go. Is it a habit? Is it a phrase? Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? Is it a thought pattern? Is it I don't know, it could be lots of different things. But take a moment to really think about what is stopping your evolution, and that it is only you that has the power to do so. You have the power to let go. And what happens when you let go? You start from a place of, I surrender. Many times when I get into spaces or moments where I know that the universe is asking me to evolve and it's hard and I am tired and I cry and I scream and I have the ugly cry and I sometimes don't even know why my body is just releasing tears and water from my eyes. It'll just start and I won't know why. And I've gotten to a place where when those moments happen, I say, I surrender. And it is one of the most powerful informations that I found in evolution. I surrender. I surrender to all of the things that I think I used to know, that I know I don't know. I surrender in this moment to allow the divine to really inhabit me and guide me in what needs to happen. I surrender to my own knowing. So I know something is happening. I know I am having a frequency shift. And I personally, me, the ego of me, don't have the power to do this. But I know that what is of me has the power to make this shift happen. I surrender. It is a mantra that I have learned to keep and to use. And sometimes to use in my everyday life. Them days when life be lifing, you want to stick a circle into a square and it's just not working. Nothing you do is working. Those are those moments where that mantra comes into play. I surrender. Because the universe is either trying to stop you from doing something, is trying to delay you so that you are safe, and all of the things that you can think of. But when we in our ego believe that something needs to happen and it actually is not time for it to happen, many times in those moments, we are actually being saved. We are actually being given grace. We're actually giving more time on the planet. We are actually being able to evolve. I surrender. So, in this concept of letting go, think about the things that you need to surrender, to let go of. That experience, that thought, that grudge, that anything that is causing dis-ease and disease in your body. It is time to let go. Anything causing dis-ease or disease in the body, it is time to let go. We have the power, we have the choice when it comes to evolving. No one else has the choice to evolve but us. And so I ask you, what do you choose? Do you choose to surrender, or do you want to remain in your uncomfortability? There's power in letting go. There's power in us learning and being able to tap into ancestral intelligence in the way in that our forefathers did, so that we can be on the same frequency with water and air and the trees and the plants. There is power in that ability. And so I ask you again, what are you letting go of? What will you surrender? We talked about grief. So I want to talk a little bit about detachment. And when people think about detachment, they think about someone being aloof or someone not caring or someone and it's a very interesting way of defining it because I don't think that detachment is that. I think that detachment is the ability to have emotional intelligence enough to know that it's not personal. That person experiencing their life experience right now, and they may have a little bit of an attitude, that attitude actually may have nothing to do with you. And that you're able to actually see the world as the world is and not through the lenses that you've created based on your experiences, right? I think that detachment is a very important piece because what it allows us to do is to take in information as it's coming to us instead of it being filtered through our life experiences, right? Because if your life experience has been one where no one has ever praised you and no one has ever given you accolades or any of those things, then anything anyone tells you, they could be telling you you're beautiful and you still will not accept that. Why? Because in that moment, you are not present in the moment, you're present in your past. When you're walking in the past, in the present, yeah, I said that, in the past, in the present, and not being able to really receive the information that's being given to you in this moment, but someone is trying to give you a compliment. You're not present. And so the power of detachment is it allows us to be present. It allows us moments to be able to really feel and know what is happening around us is important for us to be able to experience our lives. It's important for us to be able to experience that moment so that we can record it in our minds and that becomes the memory. But if you're always walking in the past, you're not able to record a new memory, which means your brain and your logic brain isn't taking new memories in. Well, what happens when you need to go back to that memory? You're not going to remember it, or you're not going to remember it as it actually occurred. So, in this idea of letting go, we also want to think about detaching. We want to think about experiencing our relations from a place of detachment, not aloofness, not being in a space where we're just not caring, but that we're being in a space that we are actually being present in the moment. As it is happening, we are being present. And so detachment is that tool, right? It's that process that we go through that allows us to give ourselves time and space when we are in a conversation or in a moment with someone and we see that they're having an experience and understanding that that experience has nothing to do with us. It's actually their experience. And so, in that moment, would we be able to be a container for them if we are being present, right? In other times when we are not being present, we aren't able to help each other. We're not able to be containers because we can't fathom that this experience that someone is having isn't personal to me. This is one of the reasons why I think a lot of times, especially in New York, you hear it a lot where people are killed while they're having a mental health crisis, right? Because for some strange reason, we aren't recognizing that something is off and something this person is having a moment of crisis. And instead of us thinking, oh, wow, is there a way that I can help? We go into a space where we've done taken it personal, and now people are killing people on the trains and they're shooting people because they felt like their lives were threatened. And what is happening in that moment is a moment where if we took a moment to just step back and say, something else is happening here that is not personal to me. This person is in need of help. How can me in this moment where I can be present, right? Detached from my emotions, detached from my feelings, detached from prior past memories in this present moment, how will that help me to be able to be a help to someone else? We've taken so much so personal that we have negated our obligation in relation to each other to be present and to be of help. And it's okay Because the other piece about detachment, it also allows us to give ourselves a moment to analyze and see, do we have the capacity to be of assistance? Because if we don't have the capacity to be of assistance, we need to be able to say that as well. But when we're not walking in the present, I think detachment is not about being aloof, it's about being in the present. We are able to make those decisions and being able to be in relation with others and understand that many times it's not personal. Someone else is having a life experience, and in their life experience, we may be able to be in relation to be of some help. So, these two concepts, the idea of letting go, the different spaces where grief can sit, and how we need to release it from our body, and then us being able to detach, is a part of letting go. It's a part of our evolutionary process, right? The same way how we talk about the fact that we used to have tails and we no longer have them. We are now in a space where the universe is asking us to evolve, and we're evolving through the frequencies that we share with each other, through the frequencies that we vibrate on, that we need to vibrate higher in order for us to continue ascension. Think about what you want to let go. Think about how you use the mantra, I surrender. What are you calling in? What are you cultivating at this time in your life? How do you want to cultivate that? What vibration, what frequency do you need to be working on and vibrating on in order for these things to actually manifest? The power of letting go. I thank you all so much for being here with us today. I want us to close out with a brief meditation. So take a moment to allow your body to come into rest. Find your breathing. Take one hand and place it on your forehead. Take another hand and place it on your heart. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Again, deep breath in and breathe out. Last one, deep breath in and breathe out. And repeat after me. I am divine. I am connected. I am expressive. I am love. I am strong. I am creative. I am safe. I am divine. I am connected. I am expressive. I am love. I am strong. I am creative. I am safe. I am divine. I am connected. I am expressive. I am love. I am strong. I am creative. I am safe. Choose to evolve. The power of letting go. I surrender.